All right, if we are live, and I believe we are. So, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody here from 100 Years of the NFL, a historical journey team. I hope everybody has had a great Christmas with their families. And tonight we have five guests here from our 100 Years of the NFL team who we've had podcasts with this year. Alex Christ, Billy McGee, my cousin Samuel, and Elijah Goodell, and Ben Adams joining us here tonight on 100 Years of the NFL, a historical journey. We have got a lot of great stuff to talk about here tonight, but I'm going to open the floor to everybody and just ask how was everybody's Christmas, and if they're ready to talk some sports, anybody can have the floor first.
Yeah, I'll lead things off. I was playing Justin Herbert in fantasy football last night, and I was thrilled to see he only put up 5.7 points. So, Merry Christmas.
I started the Chargers defense, and they gave me 20.
All right.
I lost in the first round. But Merry Christmas.
I did too.
Everyone, thank you for the fans all around the world signing in right now to watch. So excited, Alex. You said it's going to be a fun night. I'm looking forward to that.
I hope so too. It's going to be very interesting here, and why not any better than to just update how the current playoff structure is right now. Let's go ahead and start though with the AFC currently, and boy, has this really just turned into a crazy race from division leaders to also surprising teams coming out of nowhere. Let's first start out though with essentially the division winners or the division leaders so far. We have the Buffalo Bills at 12-3, still holding the number one seed in the AFC. Kansas City at number 2, still same record at 12-3. Cincinnati coming into their own at 11-4, and the stunning move by the Jacksonville Jaguars stealing the division right now from the Tennessee Titans. They are now at 7-8, tied with Tennessee. So just kind of opening the floor here first, how do you kind of see the rest of the wild card structure, or how the AFC will play out over the next few weeks?
Is that directed at anyone in particular, Alex, or?
Yeah, just kind of opening the floor to see if anybody. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll jump in here. I think there was a lot of confidence around the league that Miami essentially had one of those wild card spots blocked up in the AFC. So what is it? 3 straight losses?
Might be even 4 by now.
Might be 4. 4 straight losses for Miami. And you know, honestly, it wasn't too long ago that we thought the AFC East would be the best division of football, and I think that narrative is essentially over at this point with the Jets, Miami, and the Patriots losing some pretty pitiful games too. So it really opens up the door. I mean, a lot of people right now are talking about how giving division winners a guaranteed home game in the playoffs is a mistake at this point, because we're seeing teams like the Jaguars that are going to play a game in Jacksonville at this point, going into the playoffs, where they're the Jets or the Dolphins, which might be better teams, are working on even finding a place in the playoffs. So I would say it's exciting. I personally like the divisions. You need to beat the teams that are familiar to you. I like the rivalries. It makes those games a little more exciting, so I'm not going to argue against that. But you are seeing the effect of the playoff structure as it currently stands playing a massive role in making the playoffs, because the power rankings don't look a lot like the playoff seeds right now. That's my
Can we just stop letting the South in the playoffs for this year, NFC and AFC?
Right. I mean, just kind of just
go ahead.
Feeling
Alex,
this from Sam's point of view. You know, we met in October, right around Halloween, and certainly he had a text exchange with me during that month of October, kind of saying his little spiel on Trevor Lawrence. I'm not one to just jump on the Trevor Lawrence bandwagon just yet in Jacksonville, but I just got to commend Doug Peterson for doing what he's doing right now in Jacksonville, kind of really molding that defense kind of back into what it was. Certainly it wasn't as close to what they were in 2017, but seeing Devin Lloyd and seeing some of the other standout players on that Jacksonville defense trying to make their case. But if Jacksonville barely scrapes by at 9-8, I don't know how they would fare against anybody else, because the way it's slicing right now, I think the Chargers are the number 5 seed. Well, no, strike that. Baltimore would be the number 5 seed. Chargers would be number 6, and currently Miami would be the 7th place team. So I just don't know if they would be able to stand up to Baltimore, except with Lamar Jackson being down for the rest of the year with an injury. So maybe beat
Is he
Baltimore.
done for the rest of the year, Alex?
I think so. I mean, he's been out over the last.
I'm pretty sure
weeks.
he's going to be back next week. I don't think it's a long-term injury. I think they're fully expecting him to be back, but unless there's been more recent news than I saw.
Yeah, I'm just kind of been speculating, just knowing how, he's been hurt, and Huntley's trying to handle the job as well as he's been.
Yeah, I see that it says he could return.
Yeah.
Thanks
Yeah,
for the
I think they
update.
expect him back for the playoffs, pending their playoff seed.
Right.
I mean, the question is, even if he is healthy, is he going to play with his contract issues?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't blame him necessarily the way the Ravens have treated him.
Right.
I think that willing to play in a contract here is essentially admitting that you're willing to risk injury to play.
Mm-hmm.
He bet on it. He was offered a lucrative contract, and he turned it down because he thought he could make more. If he was saying, "Oh, I'm going to omit risk and take money," he wouldn't have played this year to begin with, I think.
Yeah, that's fair.
Isn't it true that?
And I think they're a dangerous team. That's the thing. I think that every team in the AFC, every team in the NFL is a flawed team. And I think, I wouldn't want to play Baltimore in the first round of the playoffs.
You wouldn't? That would scare me.
Well, they don't scare me, but could you see any team losing to Baltimore other than the Chiefs? Maybe, but I could. I mean, I just don't think there's. I think that the Eagles are the closest thing to a perfect team, and they have flaws too. I mean, Houston took them to the end of the fourth quarter to win. Houston's actually been taking all the good teams, but I don't think there's any powerhouse team right now. I wouldn't want to play Baltimore.
It's going to be interesting to see how the AFC plays out over the next few weeks. But what I was thinking of doing here actually is, kind of since we're still sticking with the AFC, I'm actually just going to open the floor to anybody who has questions, kind of like what we did with me, Sam, and Billy. We can perhaps debate on some of the AFC teams. So if anybody wants to ask a question about the AFC, and then we'll move it to the NFC afterwards. But if anybody has any questions on the AFC, the floor is yours for anybody who has any additional questions.
Alex, more of a comment than a question, but I saw that the Jaguars and Titans, there's speculation that they might rest a lot of their starters this week for the Week 18 game. So because that game would essentially decide who wins the division and who wins the playoff berth. Did you hear anything about that? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Not so much, but certainly just trying to see, just how that AFC South plays out. I mean, I'm in full agreement with what Billy said. Sometimes you just feel like, the AFC South and the NFC South this year just wipe out whoever's going to win either one of those divisions this year. I mean, just like I said, if Jacksonville goes 9-8 this year, yippee. I mean, for Doug Peterson, that's all I would have to say about them. I'm just still not bought so much in Lawrence, though. I mean, I know he's got some good playmakers around him, but, I'm just more convinced of seeing if Jacksonville's future is going to be more around, seeing how that defense is going to perform over the next few years. And I still need to see Lawrence playing, as high of a level as I'm seeing as far as Herbert, Mahomes, and certainly Joe Burrow and Josh Allen at Buffalo. I mean, he still hasn't really quite joined their ranks as of yet. I still need to be convinced about Jacksonville's offense in order to be considered legitimate threats to me.
I would very much like if they rested starters next week, because I need the Texans to win so the Colts can get a draft pick above them.
That's right.
They need to win out, and we need to lose out.
Mm-hmm.
Billy, I got a question for you. If I was a team that had a head coach opening this offseason, it might be my bias as a Bills fan, but I personally would put Frank Reich at the top of my list of coaches to try to get. Obviously, it didn't end up well this year. I think he's been chasing a quarterback solution, but he's been doing it piecemeal year by year without a long-term plan, perhaps. Maybe he's not a GM type of coach, but personally, I feel like he's a great coach, and you knew that going into the season. I thought they were going to do well. What do you think of Frank Reich? Do you think he's a coach, as a Colts fan, that he's a good coach, or do you think he deserves to be fired, or maybe those things are mutually exclusive?
I mean, yeah, I think that he could, like, he wasn't good this year, and he was, like, okay last year as a coach. I think he's a really good offensive coordinator. That should be his next job. He deserves to be hired as an offensive coordinator, but he shouldn't touch a head coaching job anytime soon. If he does good in his next job as an offensive coordinator, he get another chance. But I get it's a rough job to try and have a good offense with Matt Ryan and Sam Ehlinger, who were his starters that he played. And it kind of looks like Jim Irsay kind of forced him to start Sam Ehlinger those last few games there. And that's hard to do as a play caller, to have a good offense there, but it wasn't good at all. Like, the play calling was terrible. Like, offense couldn't do anything. The one good game we had with offensive play calls was just the short, quick passing game, and he only did it once. He never really went back to it for a full game plan. He did it against Jacksonville, and that was it.
Yeah, to me, he overachieved for 3 years and underachieved for 1 year, and you kind of take those odds. But you are much closer to the team than I am. I mean, look at Carson Wentz now. He's a joke, and people are use him as a wildcat guy now. Whereas they were 10-7 when he started for the Colts.
It was 9-8.
Honestly, what were they? 9-8.
Yeah.
Okay. Above 500, where
it should have been 10-7 if he didn't melt down against Jacksonville in the last week of the season to miss the playoffs.
Right, but wouldn't you call that overachieving, considering the talent around him in that case? To me,
last year I'd say he overachieved. They won a game when Carson Wentz went 5 of 12 passing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that.
And to me,
the team also got worse this year. They let the starting left tackle and the top 2 right guards on the team walk in free agency and expected the offensive line to be fine by starting their backups.
Is that Reich's fault, though?
No, that's Ballard's fault. That's what I'm saying. I'm not blaming that on Reich. I'm saying Reich really had trouble with that. It's the offense isn't going to be the same whenever you can't block as well.
Yeah,
but I guess that's what we're getting is
yeah.
Is this Reich giving his best shot given the circumstances, or is this Reich ruining a team a team that had talent? To me, he's overachieved for 3 years and he had one bad season when the talent admittedly was poor. I'm just saying if I was rooting for a team that was looking for a head coach, I would want Frank Reich to be my head coach. But I will say,
I think that he had his moments. He had good games as a head coach, as a play caller, but there were other games where it was really bad. Even in the past too. Even when he had Andrew Luck, there was a game against Jacksonville, a terrible Jacksonville team, where they put up 9 points. So he's had really bad games before, but he's also had the really good games. He's really just hot and cold as a play caller. And I'd give him an offensive coordinator job right now. I don't think I'd give him an immediate head coaching job.
That's fair.
Talking bad coaching, taking a little pivot here, Alex. Sorry to steal the show here, but
go ahead.
Can we just talk about how badly we whiffed on the AFC West?
Yes.
On our last podcast, I think we said that they were by far the head and shoulders above every other division in the league. And, geez, what a nightmare the AFC West has been. I mean, Denver is an absolute train wreck. Mm-hmm. Vegas is a train wreck. Mm-hmm. I guess the Chargers are decent. The Chiefs are good, obviously. But what do you even do if you're Denver now? I mean, I know they just fired Hackett. That's probably
you don't even have your top 5 pick either. It's going to Seattle.
Yeah.
To me, this extends all the way to their GM, George Patton. I think, when Nathaniel Hackett took that job, I remember everyone was saying when I asked that question, everybody, I said, which team in the AFC East do you think is going to finish in last place? I said not first place, but last place. I think some of you, I think, chose Oakland. I kind of was on the Denver bandwagon. I thought someone else joined me on the Denver bandwagon as well when we met in July. I can't remember who it was. I don't know if it was Sam or if it was Billy. I can't remember, but just what I saw.
I'll take credit.
I think so, but just
I think I said the Raiders were last. So
yeah, I think it was me, but I didn't want to toot my horn. Yeah.
But just, Denver, I think, they just bought way too much with that trade. I mean, I felt Seattle easily won that trade when Denver and Seattle pulled that deal off. And we're kind of seeing what's going on with Geno Smith and those guys, even though Seattle is 7-8. But certainly Seattle's in a much better position right now than Denver is at 4-11. And just Nathaniel Hackett, I mean, I think, he, like, you guys were just talking about Frank Reich. He's probably going to get an offensive coordinator job here, but Denver is just right back where they were ever since Peyton Manning's left. This has just been a team that has just been, like people say, either they're a quarterback away or defense away, but their defense has been playing lights out this entire season, and yet their offense has managed to score as few points. I think they were just running a stat on ESPN today. I think they said it was the fewest points per game that Denver has scored since like 1971. And that was back when Lou Saban was their head coach before Saban went back to Buffalo with O.J. Simpson and those guys in the 70s. But just this has to be a revamped offense right now. Just, I don't know if you can bite the bullet with Russell Wilson right now, just letting him just play out the rest of his contract, or if you decide to draft maybe like a mid-round quarterback here in 2023. I just don't know what direction they go in right now. It's just how bad they underestimated that trade they pulled off with Seattle this offseason. It just extends to George Patton and Mike.
Yeah, you can't bite the bullet on Russell Wilson. You're going to owe him like $100 million if you release him or trade him this offseason, and it's going to be a ton of money you owe him for the next 5 years anyway. So I think they're in a worse spot right now than they ever were since Peyton Manning retired. Because you're a quarterback away, but you're paying a quarterback $50 million a year.
I'm going to be honest. They just got new ownership, right? The Waltons, the Walmart owners just bought them. I think if you're them, you kind of have to look at Russell Wilson as just an additional investment that you have to make. They already spent $2 billion. What's another $100 million? I think you buy him out.
Well, that goes towards the cap. It goes towards the cap. You can't pay players that money. You can't. It takes the money away from the cap. Yeah, you can't do it.
Oh, so they're just screwed.
It's dead money.
Yeah.
It's dead money.
Oh,
you got to find a head coach with a good scheme that can actually have Russell Wilson playing like he was in Seattle. Like, look how Geno Smith is doing in Seattle in the system that Russell Wilson played in. Get a coach with a really good system that can maximize Russell Wilson.
Okay, I hear that argument, but Geno is not playing at the level that Russell Wilson played in Seattle. Geno's having
No, I'm not saying he is.
No.
Right, but I'm saying that let's solve Denver here. Bring Reich in Denver. OC, sure. But I'm just saying that what's more likely, that Nathaniel Hackett, a first-time head coach that used to coach at Syracuse as the offensive coordinator, is a bad coach, or Russell Wilson, a Hall of Fame player for 12 years, all of a sudden is the worst quarterback in the NFL? What's more likely? Probably that Nathaniel Hackett is a bad head coach. And I'm not saying that Russell Wilson's not going to decline, but he doesn't take a lot of hits. And I think he's obviously had some health concerns this year, but I don't think that going into a new season with Russell Wilson as your quarterback with a new head coach, a new system, is just a already failed idea. Like, Russell Wilson is not, you don't go from Super Bowl MVP to awful that quickly, or like top 5 quarterback to bottom 3 quarterback that quick. I think Denver's in trouble, but I really think people are overestimating the downfall of Russell Wilson.
Okay, I think
I think he can fix it fairly easily.
Yeah, but can I just say this one thing though as well? Do you think he has regressed, if anything? Because I mean, I get last year he was hurt in Seattle. I get it, but do you think just by either his language or just by the way that he's played, do you think that he has at least regressed a little bit?
Yeah, I think regression is normal. Tom Brady's regressed a little bit, but he's still good. Like, I'm just saying that the rate of regression is, to me, impossible. So it must be coming from a different variable, which to me is clearly Hackett.
I think half of the issue, maybe he's probably regressed a little bit on the field. But I think the bigger issue is that no one on the Denver Broncos likes Russell Wilson. They have no chemistry. And that is partly a Russell Wilson issue, but it's also partly a Hackett issue. Like, if you had a coach in there who could stabilize the issue when it's popped up, they probably wouldn't have just spiraled out of control the way they did.
It's probably what Pete Carroll was tired of doing.
Yeah.
But it is head coach's job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
you need
hear
someone with former head coaching experience to take this job. You can't hire a first-time head coach with this situation.
Yeah, agreed. But who do you hire then?
Is there anyone?
I don't know. That's
I know, right? Who do you hire?
Anyone with?
Well, you hire like a Lovie Smith or something like that, or like a Pete Carroll, like a players coach, like that will defend, that will like get on the good side of the players and also defend the quarterback a little bit.
They need to go out and they need to make a move. Get Sean Payton there.
I was thinking that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Get him out of retirement. I think the
It's
Saints
not the
still
move.
technically have his rights though, so they'd have to trade. I think.
Yeah.
Till when?
I don't know how long they have him with, but if it's this offseason, I think they would have to trade for.
Yeah, I think it's another 2 years. I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what's another head coaching job that just opened up? Would you rather, as a head coach,
I think the only two open ones
coach
right now are
Denver
Indianapolis
or
and Denver.
Indianapolis? Like
I
Denver.
mean, probably Denver.
Denver.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Well,
it's
I
obvious.
think with Indy, you get your choice of quarterback, so I think that is a huge selling point for
Yeah, but so
the Colts.
If this
Leslie
year
Frazier.
hadn't happened, which obviously is a dumb thing to say, but would you pick Russell Wilson over a question mark? 10 times out of 10, you would say Russell Wilson. So maybe
Oh yeah,
this
but
year's-
looking at it in terms of this year, it's
Yeah, I know.
would you rather
Yeah.
have it's cap flexibility too, because you can choose your quarterback in the draft. You get a young quarterback on a rookie contract, or you have Russell Wilson who's getting $50 million a year for the next 5 years.
Yeah, you could sell your soul to a kid or usurp a surefire Hall of Famer. Like, I kind of agree with
Well,
Ben.
we
I'd
got to
rather-
remember this is the same guy that just got benched for Brett Ripon or however you say his name this past week.
when they're out of the playoff.
Yeah,
They're in
but-
job-saving mode at that point, and everything's different.
I mean, Sam, you made a good point the other day that kind of applies to this situation. When you're a first-time head coach like Sean McDermott, and you walk in with a blank slate and you get to pick your quarterback like Josh Allen, you get 3 years to mess around and develop him. And it doesn't really matter how you do in year one, maybe a little in year two, but you really get 3 years to prove yourself. You can't really enter the Denver job and have 3 years to mess around with Russell Wilson and a team that has the talent that Denver has.
But the flip side of that is you could go to the playoffs year one.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, like you could win 12 games next year with Russell Wilson. Like we could all see that happen.
Like Denver is going to be impatient. Like they literally just hired Hackett and fired him because he failed to meet the expectations. So if you have that high of expectations in Denver, your next head coach, if you don't do good, you're probably gone too within a year.
But if they win 8 and 9,
Oh, 8
He
and 9.
wouldn't.
No, you're not getting fired for 8 and 9. I'm saying if you have another year like this,
was,
A train wreck.
yeah, this
Like
was
the
a
worst
dumpster
possible.
fire.
Yeah.
Right. There are ways to survive a season where you didn't meet expectations, but this was more than that.
Yeah, that's true.
The one
I
thing
mean,
I will
honestly-
say, we just had
Go
a
ahead.
comment from Sam and Eli's father, Uncle Bart, saying Leslie Frazier. The one thing I will say about Leslie Frazier, though, is the first head coaching stint that he had at Minnesota, that was a train wreck, of course, with Christian Ponder and those guys and Adrian Peterson and everything. I think he deserves a second shot. I don't know if Denver would be a great fit.
I don't think Denver would be a good. I think Denver, you need to go with an offensive guy because like the defense like is solid,
Yes,
but like the offense has been terrible. You need somebody that's going to maximize that like potential on offense, and I don't know if going like a defensive minded guy is the way for that.
Right. I agree with you there. All right. I was going to say we're kind of really going a lot about the AFC. If anybody had any other questions regarding the AFC, we're going to move into the NFC in just a minute here. But I'll just leave the floor open for any other questions on this conference.
The AFC?
No. Yes.
Yeah.
Any final comments on the AFC? All right. Here's a question for Eli. Eli, do you think the Bills should keep Gabe Davis as their number 2 wide receiver going into next year?
No, I don't. I was completely bought in, excuse me, on Gabe Davis before this season. I don't know who I told, but I know there were several people that I told draft him early and often in your fantasy drafts. Believe in it. He's the real deal, and he's I don't believe that he's been a failure, but I don't think that he's someone that we want to extend and pay number 2 wide receiver money going forward.
Statistically, isn't he like mid-20s or something like that?
Statistically, he's very good.
Yeah.
But there's an eye test that's involved.
Yeah.
That you
Well,
can't.
I guess
It's consistency. I think like he'll like pop off for that like massive game, and then he'll have like 3 straight weeks of like 2 catches.
Yeah. Yeah, with all the young talent coming out in the draft lately at wide receiver, it feels dumb to not go to take advantage of that.
There's a guy on TCU named Quentin Johnson.
Quentin Johnson. Yep.
Yeah, I think the Bills should take a look at him. That's my
Might go pretty early though. When I noticed just the projections.
Straight up. You did it for Josh, right?
Yeah. So certainly, I actually have a question here for Ben, actually, and we kind of discussed this in our last podcast in July. My question to you is this. I know that you and Anna briefly spent some time in Cleveland. Of course, Cleveland right now sitting at 6-9. And, the one thing I did want to mention to you is this. When I saw Watson taking that last kneel down a couple of weeks ago for that upset victory against the Baltimore Ravens when they beat him 13-3, like he turned his head around immediately and just like screamed to the heavens like they had just won the division. And I was just saying, like, just hold the phone there. You're not quite ready for that yet. I just wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on Cleveland right now sitting at 6-9 and really at 4th place in the AFC North? How do you kind of see their future playing out?
This might be a hot take, but I actually don't think the Browns are as bad as people think they are. I think Watson has had a terrible year. I think it could potentially be a similar situation to Russell Wilson where you've got this monster contract and they're stuck with him. But they've challenged a lot of games. They've probably had 3 games that they should have won. They kind of blew. I know people do not like Stefanski. I don't think they're super light on talent. I mean, I don't think anyone could argue that they're going to challenge the Bills or the Chiefs for the AFC. But
they're a talented roster.
To say that they should have finished in 4th in the AFC North this year, I don't agree with. I think they're better than the Steelers. Honestly, I don't think they're any worse than the Ravens.
Yeah.
I think they underperformed this year, and I don't know what to tell you their path forward is, but I don't think they're in a terrible, terrible position.
I think with them, it's like Watson regressed, but like he hadn't played for 2 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to come back that year and be that good. Like he could return to his play next year, but like it's kind of ridiculous to expect to be back at a top 5 level after not playing for 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, it is crazy. Like, and I don't know what the conclusion of this point will be, but the scarcity of good quarterback play was never more evident than it was this offseason when guys that were considered like tier 2 quarterbacks, probably not the elite, but tier 2, were given massive guaranteed contracts, just begging them, knowing that the rest of the roster and the rest of the cap would be destroyed to go play on those teams, being Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson. And they both thus far have not panned. And I said that I think Russell Wilson will eventually pan. But we've never seen this outward commitment to players that have issues, one being age and the other being legal or ethical. But to me, it just proves like the scarcity of quarterback talent. Like it is wild to think that there are like 15 humans on earth who are capable of playing quarterback and winning a Super Bowl. And you know, it's supply and demand, and teams are willing to do this stuff. And I wonder what the repercussions will be moving forward, having two teams totally sell out on people and having it to this point fail. And I wonder if that will change, like if it will make people more cautious, or people will be more willing to commit to the draft, or whatever it is. But it will be interesting to see how this plays out, because there was a clear just let's ruin the rest of the roster and get our guy and see what happens. And thus far, it's been bad.
Yeah, that is.
I think the rest of the league wants the Deshaun Watson one to fail because of fully guaranteed contract. No one else wants to do that.
Yeah.
But they were willing to, and I think that.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. The rest of the league doesn't want that to work out because they don't want their quarterback being like, well, it works with Deshaun Watson. Where's my fully guaranteed contract?
Do you think it's too early to say that it's a failure in Cleveland?
Yes.
No, I don't think it is. I'm saying that's what the teams want to other teams want it to be a failure, but I don't think it will be, because I like Stefanski because they did good with Baker Mayfield in 2020 at quarterback. So and Stefanski can get an offense if Deshaun can play at the level he's played in the past, then Stefanski will have a good offense there, and the Browns will do good, and they'll make the playoffs like for years with that team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The way that I just kind of slice it, just kind of going back to my question that I first pegged to Ben, the thing that I almost just want to say this, with the whole Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson thing, I just can't believe how much the Cleveland Browns just really mishandled that whole Mayfield situation for the most part. I mean, they, of course, overloaded that team in 2019 after Mayfield set the world on fire in his rookie season in 2018. They get all these big free agents. The 2019 season, they go 6-10, and then flip a switch in 2020 after Beckham gets hurt. You win the wild card game, and then you give the Chiefs a run for their money before you lose to them in the closing minutes in 2020, and then 2021, you're right back to where you started in 2019. So Andrew Berry and those guys, I mean, I think they just got to figure out a mindset over the next few years, especially, going into the draft and seeing any free agents they can get. But their hands have been dirty about this for 4 or 5 years, and they've just completely mishandled Mayfield's situation, and who knows what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson's future. But that's my 2 cents about the way Cleveland has mishandled things over the last 5 years.
Alex, do you think that obviously everyone thought it was a black guy for the league, what Cleveland did by signing Deshaun Watson?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that it's kind of blown over a little bit? I sort of feel like the last few weeks I've been watching the NFL, and you watch Browns highlights. I haven't heard anyone really mention anything about Deshaun Watson. Do you feel like the Browns weathered that storm and they've moved on beyond that?
I think the way that Watson has kind of handled it for the most part, I think early on, just they, try to distance him from the media. And, of course, that's, the smart thing of what they say. I just remember somebody saying, like, anytime there's a situation that comes up, every client is advised to shut up. Just don't say a word, don't reveal anything to the media. And just, I think Watson handled that the best that he could. But the problem is, I think it's just if he struggles, just say, for example, next year, if it overloads and Cleveland has another 10-loss season, then I think the finger is going to be once again pointed at Watson, and they're going to say to him, well, what were you doing this whole time, over the 1-2 year absence? Houston, of course, lets you go, and then Cleveland gives you the big bucks, and you haven't been able to handled the goods as well as you have been. I mean, I just think Watson has to be able to break out of his shell a little bit next year. Once everything just kind of hopefully settles through. I mean, if he gets back to being a Pro Bowl quarterback that he was in Houston and they get back to the playoffs next year, we might not be having that conversation. But, I give kudos to, his agents and his lawyers, but Watson has a lot more to deal with over the next few years of his deal.
Yeah, fair.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think if that's going to do it for the AFC, though, let's go ahead and jump into some of the bigger pictures in the NFC here. Two quick notes I want to throw out, though, before we kind of dissect into this. How about the story of around the world of Brock Purdy in San Francisco over the last few weeks of how the way San Francisco has looked? And number two, got to throw this out about my New York Giants, 8-6-1. I feel pretty good about where Brian Dable and Joe Shane are at with those guys they got from your Buffalo Bills, Sam and Eli and Ben. I really appreciate the way that they have done so far, even though that was a tough loss to Minnesota last week. But I feel really, really promised about the Giants' future right now.
I'd rather lose how you lost to Minnesota than how the Colts did.
Mm-hmm.
Or how the Bills did.
Yeah.
You didn't blow a 33-point lead.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Minnesota, I just saw this, has a plus 5 point differential. And they're what, 12-3?
12-3.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
5 points. That's crazy.
Yeah, and this is the first time it's been a positive point differential since like week 5 or something like that too. They've been negative ever since. It's just wild how points tell that story. The Titans, when they were overachieving too, were like hovering around net 0 points. It does regress to the mean, but it doesn't appear that the Vikings are going to regress to the mean. They keep winning games.
But if you're a team in the NFC, do you want to play the Vikings in the first round?
I think the Giants could beat them again.
I mean, if you're a low
I think if you watch the Colts put up 33 points in one half on them, I think you're confident that you can beat them.
Yeah.
If you're a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't the Giants slated to play them if the season were to end today?
I think so. Giants would be number 6, I think, right? Dallas would be 5. Giants, yeah. Dallas would be 5. Giants are 6, and Washington is sitting at 7.
Yeah.
All right, Alex, I have a little thought experiment for you. This has always confused me about the NFL. The Vikings have one of the best offenses in the NFL, and they have one of the worst defenses in the NFL, and they're 12-3. Denver has one of the best defenses in the NFL and one of the worst offenses in the NFL, and they're 4-12.
11. 4-11.
4-11. Why is that? Why is having a good offense so much more important than having a good defense? And I genuinely I don't quite know how to figure that out, but I really feel like that's the case. And this is the perfect picture of that, is that these two teams that are totally opposite, and one is seeing so much success and one is seeing a massive lack of success.
I've said this all year about the Minnesota Vikings, really watching them, and especially in that Buffalo Bills game that they played against them earlier this year. I think Minnesota invested too much veteran leadership on that defense right now. I understand Harrison Smith and Patrick Peterson and some of those guys have, done as well as they have could with Minnesota's defense this year, but I just think that defense has been so old for so many years, and that has to be a major priority for them this offseason to get younger on defense. But as far as Denver goes, as we were just mentioning about Russell Wilson and those guys, I just can't think of another quarterback. It's like you look at the quarterbacks between Elway and Manning that try to take over the throne after both those legends left. You had Greasy, you had Plummer, you had Jay Cutler, and all those guys in between after. You had Trevor Siemian, Drew Lock, Ripken, and all those guys. Denver's, certainly just has to figure out just the offensive tendency as far as I'm concerned. But Minnesota.
But why is that a bad strategy? What if you did just want to sell out on defense at the expense of your offense. And that was purposeful. Why is that bad? That's what I don't understand.
Sure.
What this tells me is that why would you spend any cap on your defense? Why would you pay anyone on defense? Pay everyone on offense, because worst defense in the NFL doesn't matter if you have good offense, you're going to win games.
Pay the offense, draft defense, have rookie contracts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you could say the opposite too. Draft offense, pay defense, right?
Well, it's like you.
Well, with this, I think you want the proven players on offense at this point. Like, if you're seeing it, like, through this look of it, don't you want like the proven guys that you know can do
I
job
agree.
on
And I'm
offense?
wondering why. Like, I don't quite get why the offensive teams, like the Chiefs, have never had a good defense, and they're always going like Super Bowl favorites. And Denver this year happened to have a great defense, and they have not, since week 4 on, they have not been in the Super Bowl conversation. And it's just funny.
I think it's more so like elite quarterback is the look there, because like even you look at the teams like with like you look even the point differential of them, like look at Minnesota, like they have like no one's taking them like seriously as like they're gonna win the Super Bowl like you are. You look at the teams with elite quarterbacks, like yeah, they have an elite receiver and their offense is really good, but the Super Bowl favorites are almost always going to be the teams with elite quarterbacks. That's the differential there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm agreeing with Billy on this one, but the thing I'm gonna be saying about both these organizations is this too. I mean, I understand that you gave Kirk Cousins a 1-year extension here, but I mean, Justin Jefferson, as great as he's performed, I mean, he's probably on pace to break 2,000 receiving yards. Everybody was thinking Tyreek Hill was going to do it. Justin Jefferson might be the one to do it this year, but I just have this to say to Adolfo Mensa, their GM. Are you willing to bet on Cousins? I mean, I just understand that Cousins still probably has a few years left, or do you try and get somebody else to replace him? I just think if you draft a guy, I mean, I liked when they drafted Kellen Mond, but then once he struggled in the preseason, they shipped him to Cleveland. So are you anticipating to draft somebody and just mold him under Cousins for a few years and just let him pick up the rest of the pieces? Denver doesn't really have that luxury right now with how much they bought into investing in Russell Wilson.
Yeah, but if you're the Vikings, you're so close. I mean, they could win the Super Bowl this year. Can you really afford to draft a rookie quarterback who's probably not going to be better than Kirk Cousins next year?
Well, I don't think they're going to.
You're not drafting to start them. You're drafting to sit them.
Yeah, but you could draft a pass
don't take
rusher.
the first
That could
round.
be great.
Yeah,
It's the opportunity cost.
Exactly. Yeah, you could draft someone instead who could make an impact tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we're not saying draft a first round. Like go mid-round quarterback like you did with Mond. Like go like a third, like a second, third, fourth round. Take a chance there if you have someone you like there and you think he can develop.
Yeah.
Mahomes first round, Allen number 7 overall, Mac Jones first round, Lamar first round, Joe Burrow.
Mac Jones in a good quarterback conversation.
Mac Jones is a stretch to put in the top quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay, true. Tua was an MVP candidate 2 weeks ago. First round.
That's true. Name one top tier.
Dak Prescott.
Kirk Cousins.
Dak Prescott was a
Yeah, but Kirk Cousins, I wouldn't say is a top tier quarterback.
I think Dak is the best example.
I agree.
Is he top tier though? Hasn't he been kind of bad?
I'd put him in the top 10. I don't think he's not a top tier quarterback. I think he's like right below it. He's a top 10 quarterback though.
He was pretty low.
Third or fourth. I think he might have been fourth.
He might have been fourth. And then Jimmy G was 2, but I don't think like Brock Purdy at this point is more valuable than Jimmy G.
Hey, yeah, there's one. Brock Purdy, 7th round pick.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not a top tier quarterback. That's a great team.
Yeah.
But I hear your point. I probably agree. I would pick a quarterback in the 3rd round and just hope it hits. But it almost seems like the likelihood of that hitting is so low that it's not really worth it. I don't know.
Now, if you want to go back a year, if talking about like good quarterbacks, Russell Wilson before he goes, that's a 3rd round pick.
That's a great point.
But yeah, we can remember all the guys that worked out that were drafted late, but you don't remember all the
Colts took Jacob Eason in the 4th round, and he's on his like 4th team in 3 years.
Jarrett Stidham, 4th round pick to the Patriots. No one knows who Jarrett Stidham is.
Will Greer to the Panthers.
Yeah, and that was like a 2nd or 3rd round pick, wasn't it? That was like earlier.
That was 3rd, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can. There are so many names.
Yeah, and of course you can literally name who they just drafted. Kellen Mond got cut after 1 year.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, Nate Peterman, 5th round pick, threw 3 passes. 1 was to the Bills last week. Like, you forget all
Christian
the guys.
Hackenberg was a 2nd round to the Jets and never played a snap in the regular season.
That's
right. Yeah.
Right. Like, I used to think that used to be like kind of like the woke philosophy is like take a flyer quarterback every year. I think I disagree with that. I think they
just take a guy that has heart. Take Max Duggan. Do that. Take Max Duggan.
Yeah, let's go. Yes.
But-
just declared.
Okay, I agree that it's probably not worth it to take a 3rd round pick. But I hear Alex's point. If you're the Vikings, if they don't win a Super Bowl this year, do you believe you'll ever be able to win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins? The answer is probably no. So what do you do if you're such a good team, you're that close? Do you really go out and pick a quarterback with your 1st overall pick? It's a tough spot.
I think you can definitely win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. I think
If you're gonna take one in the 1st round, like looking at it from this year, who are your options right now? Like, you're not gonna get the pro ready guy that's gonna make an immediate impact in the 1st round. Like, your option is gonna be like maybe Anthony Richardson, but he's gonna go way before they can pick.
I can't speak to prospects. I don't know.
I just wanted to throw this out about Anthony Richardson to you, Billy. Just do you think he is as raw a quarterback prospect that we have seen in the draft in a long time? I mean,
I don't like him. I don't think he's like ready at all. I think it's a mistake for him to declare this year.
I know.
He has had some of the worst games I've seen. Like, he's not accurate in the slightest bit. His last game he played against Florida State, he started the game like 5 of 7 with 3 touchdowns and an interception, and I think completed 4 passes the rest of the game.
I just was so stunned about that when he decided to declare. I mean, and I'll even throw this. We're just sticking with college football. You hear about what happened with Jalen Kitna? What was that?
Oh my, yeah. Wow. Florida is a train wreck right now with their quarterback room.
Ridiculous under Napier. Napier's a fool right now.
Crazy.
Their other quarterback, the one that started in the bowl game for them, is a transfer from Ohio State who has a DWI.
Jeez.
And I'll tell you this, I was so angry at Napier for denying Oregon State the shutout. You're down 30-0 and you go for the field goal at the very end. If they would have been shut out, I saw something. They haven't been shut out since like the 70s or something. So good for them on not getting shut out again. That was ridiculous when Napier tried that out. I was just like, curses. But talk a little bit about the transfer portal in just a sec with some of those big moves, but just kind of still leaving the floor.
Talking about every single Jackson State player going to Colorado.
I know Travis Hunter and Shadir Sanders and everybody else joining Dion and ranks, but still just kind of leaving the floor open on the NFC right now. Just we were kind of just briefly talking about the Eagles in the NFC East, just trying to see how this division just kind of slices out. We were seeing, either the AFC West or the NFC West the last 2 years. People were billing as probably the toughest divisions, but now the East is probably becoming one of the tougher divisions as of now. How do you kind of see that division playing out either in the postseason or in the future years? How do you kind of see?
I think the Eagles this year just run through the playoffs. I think they're that good. Mm-hmm. Like they'll meet whoever comes out of the AFC in the Super Bowl. Like the conversation for the NFC starts and stops with Philadelphia. Like they barely lost a game to Dallas when they had Gardner Minshew starting at quarterback.
Right.
Like if you actually had your starter in there, like you're winning that game easily.
Mm-hmm. Billy, what about like a neutral site game if the Niners were playing the Eagles? What do you think that the Vegas line would be?
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't, because the Niners are like.
See, that's why I don't think it's a surefire thing. Like, I bet
it's not going to be a neutral site. That's the thing in Philadelphia,
but
and I think that the lights might if you're gonna because they would meet what that would probably have to be the NFC Championship. Is that too big of a moment for the last pick of the draft starting at quarterback for you to go in there in his rookie year and beat the number 1 seed? Like that might be too big of a moment. I don't want to doubt Brock Purdy.
Quarterbacks were asked to do that much. Like I don't think if you think about how the Bills got to 12-3 and how the Eagles got to 13-2, Josh Allen did as far as expected points added. Josh Allen is probably way over Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts does more for his team than Brock Purdy. But both of these players are sort of in a great system. They're both teams that aren't paying a quarterback. I guess the Niners kind of are with Jimmy G. He's more like an expensive backup than a player to pay. But
because they reworked his contract, so they're really not paying him much this year.
Right. So they're both playing on these incredibly talented rosters.
I think that's how you should build a team, honestly. Like if you don't have your quarterback.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, Merry
Hi, bye.
Just wanted to have my mom hop
Hi,
in.
Mary.
It's her birthday
Mary.
today. I just wanted to
Happy
Happy birthday, Mary.
Hey. It's good to see everybody.
Yeah.
Sorry to jump in on that, but just thought you guys wanted to say happy birthday.
What was I think I was at I think that the way that the Niners and Eagles have built their teams, that's how you want to build your team. You want to compete when your starting quarterback is on his rookie deal before you have to extend him, because then there's your stability. But until you have the stability of that top quarterback, you don't need to be paying one $40-50 million a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. All right. How about this for the Niners? What do you do? What year is Trey Lance? Was this his third year?
This is his second. So next year's his third.
Yeah.
Next year's his third? Okay. So you still have 2 more years left on his rookie deal plus an option?
At least so you can have next year and the year after, and then you have the 5th-year option. So you can have 3.
So you got plenty of time to figure it out still, I guess.
Yeah.
Do we think, is he the guy? Is there any chance that he becomes a guy?
I think there is a big chance, but you've already seen Brock Purdy do more for this team than Trey Lance ever did.
I know, right?
So
look at Brock Purdy destroy Jimmy G's trade value.
Yeah.
Well, Jimmy G's just signing elsewhere anyway. He's going to be a free agent after this year.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, his value nonetheless probably went down because Purdy's doing.
Oh yeah, no. If you see, because Brock Purdy looks better than Jimmy G has all year.
He does. Yeah. I mean,
so I don't know. You think the Niners there's got to be a team that's willing to give you a good bit for either one of those quarterbacks. Some team would give you a high-end first-round pick for Lance, and some team would probably give you a 3rd or 4th, and maybe both for Purdy, who was the last pick in the draft. So you can't keep both of them. You can get a good return on either one of them.
You think you could get a first for Lance?
I don't think so.
He's still 23 years old. His reason for not play, so he didn't play because they drafted him to be back in his first year, and then he got a bad injury this year. It's not like he's Zach Wilson who just sucks.
Yeah, but you
he
lose
just
value
hasn't been able to.
You lose value after you sign that deal. Part of your value is the lack of pay that you're owed.
Mm-hmm.
So as your rookie contract progresses, you become less and less valuable. I'd rather sign a 22-year-old. I'd rather sign Max Duggan if he was as good as Trey Lance this year, because I have 5 years of him on a rookie contract. So he does become less valuable.
Yeah, but
I'd rather. That's the thing. I'd rather, if I'm a team that's going to get a quarterback, I think I'd rather trade my first for Trey Lance than take someone not named Bryce Young in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how about the Vikings? What about they're probably going to have.
That wouldn't be.
That
wouldn't be terrible. That's I think you may have to give an extra maybe early day 3 pick.
Yeah,
with that, since you're going to be a later pick in the draft, maybe the 3rd. You'd probably have to give up somewhere between a 3rd and a 5th with your first.
Right. You'd probably,
because I think a team would give up a top 15, maybe top 10 pick for Trey Lance.
The thing about that though is if you're San Francisco, it's just because Bryce Purdy is serviceable doesn't mean that a super athletic quarterback wouldn't make you better.
Yeah. Maybe if you're the Niners, you wouldn't take that.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Because
the Niners
right.
Well, you have a while to
Josh Allen in San Francisco.
But what if you stacked 2 first-round picks, got rid of Trey Lance, and moved up and picked, a top quarterback next year, the year after that. I think it all comes down to if
San
the
Francisco
Niners
knows what they see in practice.
exactly.
Too.
I was going to say if the Niners believe in Trey Lance, they'll keep him.
I would trust Kyle Shanahan's judgment on that. So
would
whatever one he wants, I think he is that good enough at being a head coach and making the right decisions that if I'm the GM, I'd go ask him. It's like, hey, which one of these guys is the long-term guy that you want? We're going to trade the other one. I would listen to him.
I'd agree as a coach, but as a quarterback developer, I'm not sure if I would say the same. Maybe they should get Frank Reich to be their who's their OC right now?
Who is their OC? I don't even know.
Would he?
It's like he doesn't even matter. I feel like.
Would he take in a quarterback coaching job there? Probably not. He's probably got more value.
I think that would be honestly if he's willing to take a lower job than coordinator, because I think he could get a coordinator job, right? I think that might be like his best. Like go to San Francisco. Like that's going to be a great gig. Where's their? I'm looking at their coaching staff. I'm trying to find the.
Well, wasn't McDaniels their
Brian Greasy is their quarterback's coach?
They have
Right.
the 49ers have a run game coordinator and a pass game coordinator. They don't just have an offensive coordinator.
I totally forgot about Brian Greasy trading that job for Monday Night Football. I remember he took that job at San Francisco,
Greasy,
so that's the genius behind.
He's their quarterback coach. Brian Greasy's not the OC, he's the quarterback coach. But
okay.
they don't have just a straight up offensive coordinator. They have a running coordinator and a passing coordinator.
They don't have an offensive coordinator?
They have two. They have one for run game, one for pass game. It's weird.
Wow, that is weird. I've never heard of that.
If the pass game coordinator takes a job elsewhere, hey, why wouldn't you? Frank Reich could be a good hire there.
Make him your OC. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd do that. If he's
because you're not really doing much there. Like Frank Reich can go there and build back up his credibility for he can get a head coaching job in the future. And in reality, he's not doing all the duty that an offensive coordinator elsewhere would do because Kyle Shanahan's there.
Yeah, but also if Trey Lance turns
into
into something great and he goes there and he's the OC, that is
look what Reich did with Wentz before Wentz went downhill, before Reich left. He was great with Reich there.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think that sometimes really good coaches, it's kind of like Kirk Cousins being like, yeah, I'm going to keep taking franchise tags till you pay me. It's they're like, yeah, I'm going to take a young, unproven quarterback and make them good. Look at Dabble.
Yeah, exactly.
Dabble got hired because he went into a job where it was risky, but the risk paid off. Same thing with Kirk. It's if you truly think that you're a good coordinator, you'll take a job that could blow up in flames, but you just believe in yourself. But anyway, speaking of good offenses, Alex, I don't mean to steal the host position from you, but I have a question for you. And I'll start with E because I feel like E's got to talk a little bit. He's got a great mustache, and he hasn't been on the big screen.
I haven't heard him talk in a while.
I haven't either.
If you're the Lions and you get you unload some assets to ditch your franchise quarterback, the face of the city, to get Jared Goff, basically as a move to just say, I want to get him off our books and I want to get some picks. And now Goff is leading a top 5 offense in the NFL. And the great part about that is that he's been playing great in Detroit. And the bad part about that is now you either need to buy in or admit that obviously this was not the long-term solution. So if you're Detroit, what are you doing with Goff?
I keep him.
He's been awesome. I'm fired up. Let's hear it.
This is why I haven't been able to contribute here because we got what's your name? I don't know. Clyde Nimbus on the pod.
I'm Clyde. I'm Clyde Nimbus. He's Lagoo.
Oh, apologies. It's tough because 5 weeks ago I'd say draft a quarterback because they had the third worst record in the league, and now they might make the playoffs. So it's tough. It's they obviously have a very explosive offense, and it's clearly the defense that's been their Achilles heel this season. I mean, I think the second you get an opportunity to draft you're the next guy in the draft at the quarterback position, I think you take it. I think it's silly to sit here and think that Jared Goff's going to win you a NFL Super Bowl.
He almost did it with the Rams.
He almost did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, but what you could
Yeah,
do
but
is
he
you
did go to
have
the
a
Super
service-
Bowl.
He was just along. He was just along for the ride there. That was Todd Gurley and Sean
I will
McVay.
say this:
Well, he had
going
an
back to that,
incredible
going
year.
back to
He had
that
an
Rams
incredible
team.
year.
But here's what I'm saying. You've got a serviceable quarterback right now. You've got 2 high first-round picks, or at least 1 high
I
first-round
feel like
pick.
this is a Viking situation.
I know.
Yeah,
But their roster's younger,
worse.
and
Yeah.
but they have cap space, and they have like Amon St. Ra. Is that I always mess
Yeah,
up
Amon-Ra
his
St.
name.
Ra.
I'm on St. Rob Brown. Yeah,
He is incredible. He's like
he is.
top
And then you
10
just got Jamison Williams back from injury too.
Jameson
that you took
Williams,
in the
right,
first
Bryce
round.
Young,
Yeah.
Adrian Hutchinson.
Stars.
I'm saying build
You
up
could-
that roster.
If you could teach
what if
DeAndre
you-
Swift how to like see like running lanes, that'd be great.
Yes, that was their last mistake, drafting a first round pick.
But
for
I'm saying if
running
you're
back.
the Lions, what if you trade 1 really high, 1 mid-round first-round pick for the number 1, number 2 overall
Oh
pick?
yeah, no, if the Texans take that, no, you do that. Like if you
Yeah.
could get Bryce Young, it's really their decision isn't going to be based on we need to get someone. It's like, do you like these guys that are available when you're picking enough to
Yeah.
But
pick the
what
successor
is-
now?
Look, you don't just like fall into a top 5 offense. Like
Mhm.
I don't think we're giving Goff enough credit.
I
Did we
think
watch that
Goff's
Detroit
so
game?
either.
He made some incredible throws.
Speaking of top of offense, give me Ben Johnson at Indy. I want that OC. I want him as our head
Yes.
coach. He's so good.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
Well, I think that like at some point we're giving Ben Johnson too much credit. It's like, what about Goff? Like,
I think Goff has.
Yeah,
proved-
that is it. That is it. Like
and he doesn't
Goff
look
has
like
been a
modern
part
coach.
of 2 top offenses in his career, and people are like, "Oh, but he's not that good." But he's been a part
Right.
of 2 of them. Like
And
he's
like
better than they
McVay
give him
was the
credit
guy that
for.
had credibility before him, but now Ben Johnson is getting credit after Goff. Like it's like a chicken and the egg thing. Like it was, McVay was the chicken that laid the egg, which was Goff. This is a wild metaphor. But then like now it's like Goff Johnson didn't have credibility before Goff, and now Johnson has credibility. But like, is that because of Goff? And it's just like I don't know how much incremental value Bryce Young has over Goff. I really don't.
I
He has a lot. You have 5 years of Bryce Young on a rookie contract, and Goff has a like decently sized contract. Like Bryce Young is like infinitely more valuable to a team right now.
I don't think Goff is going to ask for like crazy money though.
No.
No, he's under contract. He has it's like in mid 20s, maybe into the 30s, I think, million a year. Or you can have a rookie contract with the number 1 pick.
Okay, I've got another question. How should we be? If you're an NFL team, how do you develop quarterbacks these days? Do you say we've got Goff, so we're good for at least 1, 2, 3 years? Let's go draft a Bryce Young, develop him, make him a star.
I don't think
Or
you
do you need to
I
be
got to
playing
develop number 1
Bryce Young?
overall.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Do you need, if you're drafting Bryce Young, do you need to play him on day 1?
What
think
else?
so.
No. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let's be honest. I don't think Bryce Young. When was the last time a rookie quarterback, even a star rookie quarterback, walked in on day 1 and was a top 5 quarterback? It usually takes a year or 2. How long? It probably took Mahomes 2 years, right?
No, Mahomes was the second he started, he was top 5.
Yeah.
Okay, but he's
He
also
won
like
MVP
one of-
his first year he started.
He's like an anomaly.
He's an
Because
anomaly.
He rested his whole rookie
That's a
year.
bad
because
example
Alex
by
Smith
me, yeah.
was the guy.
My
from 2016.
point is, do we think it's better to take a number 1 overall quarterback and play him year 1, or is it better to give him 2 or 3 years to develop? What's
I think if you're
your
taking him number 1, I think you sort of have to have the faith in him to start immediately. But like if you're no one has ever had this situation that the Lions are in. No one has ever been picking 1 and have someone that is good enough to start for you, but you don't have the quarterback of the future. Like the closest thing we've got to that was like what the Niners did when they traded up to get Lance at
I
3.
think the Lions
I
would be
just-
stupid to not take
I
Goff.
think I think the Lions, I will say two things here about Jared Goff. I think the Lions have quite a number of years left with Jared, and going back to that year in 2018.
I just looked at his contract. He has 2 more years, and he's being paid 25.5 next year and 26.5 the year after that.
Less than Kirk Cousins.
That's pretty low for a quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good deal for a quarterback.
It is. But, just going back on Jared Goff, in 2018, when I watched that postseason for the Rams, I could tell he really missed Cooper Kupp in that postseason. I mean, just, that team just kind of seemed lost. I know Gurley had a great year that year in 2018, and certainly
Is that
just the
offensive player of the year, I think?
yeah, in 2018.
Yeah, are we talking 2 years when Goff was there, or are we talking when Stafford was there?
No,
No, we're talking like the Gurley teams, the team that Gurley was like the focal point
Yeah,
of.
Cooper Kupp was not offensive player of the year that year.
Yeah.
but just
he
what
was like 1A and 1B with Robert Woods that year.
So do you
No, I'm
think-
talking. I'm saying was that Gurley's offensive player of the year?
yeah.
Oh.
So do you
Yeah,
think
yeah.
the Lions could draft a stud DN or like some players who can make an immediate impact next year and just build an awesome roster and bank on Goff being the guy for the next?
I mean, Goff
5
is
years.
clearly not the guy.
Well,
holding
it's
him back. I think they draft some
it's
DBs.
2 years that you have to make that decision, pretty much. But like, you want to make it. Like,
I guess
you want to draft a quarterback this year or next year. You don't want to have it run up and be like, okay, well now we either let him walk or we draft a quarterback to start immediately, but we're not going to have the pick that we had to get a top end one like we had in the 2023 draft.
But what if they could build an amazing team like the 49ers because they have so many draft picks next year, and then just have an awesome roster and hope Goff is the guy?
Why is Goff? Why are there any inkling? I'm more confident that Goff is
saying
better
Goff-
than any guy that they draft. Like I would take Goff's ceiling over Bryce Young. Like we forget that Darnold stinks and Baker stinks and Josh Rosen stinks. Like all these guys, it's not like you get Bryce Young and you're good.
And
Like,
you've got to
they're-
slice. You've got to slice this in another way too. It's like how long has Detroit really waited for a situation like this with Jared Goff? I mean, you drafted Stafford, as your number 1 overall pick in 2009, and you basically had to build the team around him. Jared, kind of falls into a really nice position here. I mean, I know he finished 4 and 13 last year, but I mean, right now he's sitting in a pretty darn good position. You got DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. You got Jameson Williams, as we were talking about. And, I've been saying this all year. Just fix that defense in Detroit, and I think you've got a contender at least for a division title. I don't see them as Super Bowl favorites. They haven't won the championship since 1957, but I just think they have a legitimate team if they can just fix that defense and, build around Jared and those guys.
Yeah, he's not the one holding them back.
Yeah,
I think you could build a team like the Niners. Like that's because look at the Niners. The Niners went to a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Right.
Yeah,
And Jared Goff went to a quarterback before.
I'd say they're.
You have Super Bowl experience with Jared Goff at quarterback too. Like I think that's a better situation to be in than like trying to build around Garoppolo, because Jared Goff has been the quarterback of a Super Bowl team before.
And he's been awesome this year.
Yeah, he's been really good. He's been a lot better than we expected.
Goff.
Right.
How old is Jared Goff?
Would you rather have
He's
Russell
like
Wilson or Goff?
28,
Would you rather have
28
Goff
years old.
or I'm trying to think of like
How many
Yeah,
quarterbacks?
Jared Goff, if you can extend Goff like another 2 years,
Goff is 28.
if I'm the Lions, honestly, if I wanted, I would probably take the Niners approach. I'd extend Goff 2 years, give him like if he would take $30 million a year for 2 more, so you have him for 4 years, and then you have an even longer time to make the decision of who you want. Like if you want to move on with it, like keep him there because he's only 28. Like he'll be 32 at the end of his contract if you extend him 2 years.
Yeah, Goff's like the insecure friend that wants to be in your friend group still. So like he'll take lesser money, but Lamar's gonna be like, I want 50 mil a year. You know what I mean?
Well, he's not Lamar Jackson. He's not gonna. He knows he's not gonna get that.
Yeah, but he's not that much worse than Lamar.
I would take Lamar over Goff, but I think about it for a second. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't. I would take him without hesitation.
Would you take Lamar at 45 a year or Goff at 26 a year?
Lamar.
Yeah, but
You would?
why is like take just the games Lamar's played in, been healthy, and just the games Goff's played in, been healthy. The Lions' offense is like way better.
Put Lamar on that offense. There's way more stuff going on.
Like,
that offensive line is amazing. The weapons are
when is the
great.
last time
Lamar
Lamar's,
would win
like,
MVP if he had the Lions offense.
I mean, he is the best, probably second best tight end of the league. Lamar does, and like
I guess the point is
The gap between best and second best tight end is massive, though.
Yeah. It's
Like Mark Andrews is really good, but like he's
Yeah.
probably a third of what Kelsey is.
I mean, you think of Kittle,
like,
Kelsey, Andrews, and who else?
no,
I mean,
Good point.
I think
I couldn't name who are the other. I think that's the top
Three,
tier. There's
yeah.
I honestly wouldn't even say there is a tier 2. I think you skip that completely and go to tier 3
I
for tight
agree.
ends.
Yeah, obviously Lamar is better. Like I'd rather have Lamar. I hear you, but I just don't think it's that big. It's not
Would
a
you-
Kelsey Andrews gap between Lamar.
I think that Jared Goff can do exactly what Tua did to start the year and have a really hot start and get MVP consideration. But I think he could maybe consider it because Tua cooled off. Like he continued.
I hear that. And I think Goff is a little bit system dependent. I do, but
okay. Sorry to go back to the AFC, but we haven't really talked much about Tua. How are we feeling?
Oh, he's
about
back in concussion protocol.
I know. I mean,
Yeah.
is Tua legit? He's been good. He's been great, probably, I guess you could argue.
I think it's hilarious that people ever thought he was better than Justin Herbert.
Yeah, but I mean, statistically, aren't they probably about the
no, Tua is way better
Yeah.
statistically. But
But
also
you give
That's
Justin
not-
Herbert the 2
he
fastest
just
players in the
throws-
league, and he's putting up better numbers.
Yeah.
it is funny. I saw a tweet and it's like defenses found out the exact throws that Tua makes, and they found out if you stand in front of that throw, you're gonna catch it.
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah,
like
like what's happened in the past like however many games? They have not been good. The Dolphins have not been good.
Alex and Eli, what do you guys think?
Alex, you start.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think I answered your thing in that private chat, Eli. If you had to head out, you can go ahead and just head out whenever you need to. If
I'll finish after my thoughts on Tua, but you can start.
I'm about to head out too. I need to
okay, that's
do
fine.
something.
All right. Well, just really quick though on Tua though, I mean, I've been a fan of his ever since Mike McDaniel just kind of approached that same style that Alex Smith had in San Francisco. Certainly just those two have kind of really worked like that, but his concussions and knowing that his injury history at Alabama kind of put a bit of a microscope on him of just saying can this guy be trusted as a long-term starter? I just don't know if Miami's going to be invested in it. And I kind of said this to somebody the other day. You have to extend to Stephen Ross. Stephen Ross threw Flores under the bus for not tanking for when those whole allegations went there. But now what do you do with Tua, with him being injury prone? I mean, what's your decision now going into the offseason? I know you got, Hill, Waddle, Gesicki, and those guys on offense, but, is Tua going to be your long-term answer at quarterback or not? That's just my question I have to Ross and his general manager.
Yeah, I think that it's shaken up for Tua this season that he's played really, really well against bad NFL defenses and has struggled against good NFL defenses statistically
He
this year.
played well against the Bills twice, but yes.
Okay. Fair enough. But it's also, I mean, Tua is in the best situation he probably will be in his career right now with his Mike McDaniel's coming in as a coach and really setting up a system that works really well for Tua. And then also having two of the fastest athletes in the planet playing wide receiver for him. But I think that, there's that term that NFL defenses figure out a quarterback. They said it about Mahomes after his MVP season. They said it about Lamar. They said it about Josh after last year or 2 years ago, whatever it was. And to a certain extent, I believe that happens, but also, but I think that the system that Mike McDaniel set up in Miami, where Tua most of the time it seems that he's throwing to his first read like a preset hot route, and he just isn't able to what's the word I'm looking for?
Progress
Yeah,
through reads.
routes, creative in the pocket, kind of improvise
Right.
like some of the elite quarterbacks are. I think that limits him.
Yeah,
And
no, I think that's a good point. It's like Wentz had a spurt and Tua had a spurt, and it's like Josh had a spurt and then he had a lull, and then Josh learned to deal with cover 2. And like, will Tua learn to cover like zone in the center? And he might figure that out. I honestly, I just don't think he has the arm for it. But Eli's right. It's like people are going to figure you out, and then how do you take what the defense is doing and exploit that as well? It's like, do you have 2 things that you do well or 1 thing that you do well? And like Tua throws the middle really well, but if he can start throwing the outside really well too, then he'd be a dynamic, like indefinitely good start, And I think that's an important part of being an NFL quarterback. Defenses are going to adapt once you adapt. Like Lamar, it happened to Lamar too. Lamar doesn't run as much as he used to, but he's now has better throw, so he can run still. And so that's what Josh did. He had the huge arm, and now people are keeping him underneath. Now he checks it down more, or he tries to. But it's like that. I think that's the point. It's like if Tua can figure out what defenses are doing now, he'd solidify himself as a good quarterback. But right now, it looks like he's figured out.
I think that Tua could figure it out himself and learn to do more stuff with it. Because Tua's smart, he can figure that stuff out. My concern for the future with Tua would be the concussions, because what is it? 2 confirmed and probably 3 that he had this year, because they didn't call that first one a concussion, but it was, if you looked at it, pretty much watch it, he's stumbling. 3 in 1 year is concerning.
That's bad.
I think you should have to if you're in the concussion protocol 3 times in a single season, I think that you should be shut down. The league shouldn't allow you to put yourself in that position a 4th time.
Protect the player from himself.
Because Tua's not gonna be like, oh yeah, no, I'm sitting out for my health. No, Tua wants to play.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think that physically he can go out there and get better at the game, and what he does best, he can get better at playing quarterback. But the concern with me is his concussions.
Yeah, that's definitely a concern. I just don't think he has the arm talent too. There's a reason.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, you see some of these throws. I think Tyreek Hill got tackled at the 1 whenever he was wide open the other day. And with anyone else, it's with any other quarterback in the league, pretty much that's a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He looks laborious to throw to the sidelines.
Mm-hmm. Well, certainly Miami's got the same defensive issues as Minnesota does. They got certainly to clean up their defense this offseason as well, but with kind of Billy and Eli about to head out right now, if there was anything else, just somebody wanted to just have the floor for one more sec. I think we were going to probably just try and wrap this up here before everybody heads on out for the night.
Go Bills against the Bengals Monday night, game of the season.
Keep losing, Colts.
Huge game against Cincinnati.
Keep losing. Go Horny Frogs! New Year's Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Hate to tell you, that's not going to go well for you.
Hoping Georgia takes down.
And even if it does go well for you, it's going to be even worse if you run into Georgia in the national championship.
Even worse if we won in the first game.
No, I'm saying you're going to lose in the first game, but even if you somehow win, you're going to get an even worse game lost than what would have been in the first game.
You were just talking about a man
it's
with
weird
heart,
the way
Max Duggan, though. You were just talking about a man with heart.
Oh, no, I love Max Duggan. He has heart, but that team is nowhere near as talented and as good as Michigan and Ohio State and Georgia.
Their defense.
We'll talk next podcast, and I'll wear my TCU hat, championship hat.
Yeah,
I'll get my back-to-back national championship Georgia stuff then.
Hold
on a second.
Billy, are you a dog?
2021
I went there for
champion.
a semester before I transferred because it was too expensive. I got a ton of stuff. Hold on, I got even more. Hold on a second. That's the basketball one. We're not talking about that. We suck at that. That's a specific player. He's a freshman. There's more. That's
We have
just
we have
that.
a
Hold on.
TCU fan that's chiming in right now that says otherwise.
There's national championship stuff. I got more somewhere. I'll stop. That's too much. Okay, I have a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I don't think you want to read that last
Yeah, I think
comment.
Max Duggan actually just chimed in. If you look at the icon,
I do not think you wanted. I don't think you wanted to read that last comment there.
Oh, I got this is sitting right next to me. I forgot this.
Yeah. Whoever this
cool.
fan is, she's being very harsh.
Yes, no, whoever's making the comments, just other than Uncle Bart. Uncle
I have
Bart
more
certainly
stuff
had some.
somewhere. There's no way.
Uncle
Yeah, we
Bart
might have
certainly
to
had some
we might have to
funny
block.
ones. Some funny ones tonight too. Turn the ball over.
I saw that. That was as soon as we started it, like 2 minutes, that was up there.
But certainly, I would like to thank everybody, though, for joining us here. Just a fantastic broadcast here tonight on Christmas and New Year's Eve. And 2 quick announcements about our podcast here. Next year, we will certainly have a lot more creative ideas in store. I'm hoping to have a broadcast hopefully next week. I got a little trip planned down to our beach in our condo in Long, South Carolina. You guys are invited anytime you guys want to come on down and spend a week. If you are a golfer or want to just hang out around at the beach for a week, the invitation is always welcome. And then also we are also going to be anticipating perhaps a name change here for 100 years of the NFL, a historical journey next year. I'm still in the process of figuring out the name change, but we will certainly, be announcing that very, very soon. So right before we leave out, though, just one last note, or just anybody has anything else to say, I will wrap this up in just about a minute. If anybody has any last words.
This is not related to NFL at all. I'm going to grab this. Go Gunners. We're going to win the Premier League.
Hey.
Yeah. 7 points ahead of second place right now.
Hey.
You guys, it's been very entertaining.
Thanks, Uncle Bart.
Go Bills, go Frogs.
Eli, where's your hat?
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in for.
Was he getting the hat too?
Oh,
Yes.
mhm.
Everyone has these in upstate New York.
You're gonna get the hat. All right.
We got to wait. There it is.
There we go. All right. 3 amigos of the Buffalo Bills fans. Come.
All right, Alex, thanks for having us, man.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. So this is Alex Christ, Billy McGee, Samuel and Elijah Goodell, and Ben Adams signing off here for our Christmas New Year's Eve podcast here tonight. Have a great New Year's Eve, everybody, and we will see you all next year. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
See you guys.
See ya.